One of the biggest difficulties for me was obviously transitioning from running back to safety.
Yeah.
But luckily, both of my older brothers play safety.
Yeah.
So they were a great help. And also, Coach McGee, our safeties coach, like I remember at the beginning of the summer, he sent me the whole defensive playbook, and I got to look through it with my brothers. And also just being around experienced DBs like Jay Bay and especially Alex Atkins. I'd known him through Pop Warner, but during the season, like if I'd mess up or get beat or something, he would always be the first one to come up to me like, hey, it's good. Like, and that support really, I think, made a difference for me and my confidence too, especially at DB. You need confidence. I think not having prior knowledge might have helped with transitioning to DB because I know other knowledge that I had to kind of like overcome.
Yeah, overwrite.
Yeah.
So at safety, what do you feel like is the most successful part to being a great DB in that backfield? What do you think are some elements that make a successful safety?
Especially with safety, I think a lot of it is film study and having that football IQ. Like someone on our team who had just ridiculous IQ was Marley Alapati.
Yeah.
And he definitely taught me a lot with kind of how to look at formations and stuff like that. Because that kind of instinct makes a huge difference in games. And in general, athleticism and stuff like that, but I would say that that kind of like X factor makes the biggest difference.
GetSportsFocus is brought to you by Summit Partners, leaders in growth equity investing. WeightsandBars.com. Build your home gym and shop locally from the Bay Area's best fitness equipment experts. Ike's Love and Sandwiches. Championship-level sandwiches every single time. South Bay Construction, a reputation built on trust. And by Fuel Good, fueling your success. Conveniently located in Santa Clara off Homestead Road. For more info, go to fuelgoodmealprep.com.
What's up, Get Sports Focus? My name is Alejandro Flores, and I am here with Teddy Chung. Teddy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
First of all, congratulations to your commitment to Harvard, man. That's a big accomplishment. So I just want to ask you, when you finally got accepted into Harvard, what was that feeling like?
It was really like kind of a childhood dream come true. Like I definitely have a lot of memories of Harvard being kind of my goal, and like there's one specific memory. Me and my brother John, who's playing at Harvard right now, we went and visited the stadium, and we got to go on the field, and we did a 40-yard dash and raced each other. So that's kind of like a memory that I've always held dear in my heart, and to be able to kind of come close to living that out, like playing together, is amazing.
Yeah, and I was about to say, you have two brothers who were very successful in football, and obviously also with school and academics. You know, your brother is going to Harvard right now. So what has those feelings been like, you know, growing up with your brothers, playing ball with your brothers, and you know, having to basically always kind of compete with them or follow up with them?
I think it's always been great to have like a healthy competition with my brothers. Like I feel like we've all always been pretty talented when it came to sports, and maybe have like different strengths and weaknesses, but for sure, like being around other talented players, like especially when you live with them, definitely pushes you to be greater and to work out more. Like if I see like Sam or John lifting, I gotta think like, hey, well, I gotta go lift too, you know, keep up with them, stuff like that.
And you also had a father who was, you know, a coach for you from a very young age. What was his kind of support like, you know, throughout your football career?
I mean, having my dad as a coach, it was great and also not so great just because he was definitely pretty hard on me, especially when I was like in 7th grade and I was the only one left in Pop Warner. But like, that is definitely what I needed to succeed and to kind of instill a successful mindset in me at a young age. So I'm really grateful for it. It was, you know, definitely a great experience to be able to play with my dad, but also as a coach, he was a great coach too.
Yeah. I know the exact same feeling of having a father as a coach. So, you know, it's like it stays a little too much at home sometimes, but it's also a great advantage. So now let's talk about your time here at Serra, right? You know, you got pulled up to varsity as a freshman. You know, you got that experience. What was that first experience like? First of all, you had a great freshman year, you know, on the freshman team, and then getting pulled up and immediately seeing the varsity speed for a school like Serra and going to the state championship. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it showed me a new level of football for sure. I think freshman football is pretty similar to Pop Warner. And I had a ton of fun. It was great. It made a lot of good friends. But like that feeling getting pulled up and seeing what real varsity practice is like it was something unique for sure. Like that really kind of showed me what this game really is like at high levels, and it kind of inspired me to really want to pursue it in college and beyond and stuff like that. And it was also great too because the senior class that year, I knew a lot of the kids through my brothers, and so it was great to be able to kind of be on the team with them and experience those things with them too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, for the state championship, you got to travel away. It felt like a bowl game almost. What was that travel experience like too?
As a call-up, it's definitely more of like kind of a vacation for sure. But it was great. Like I roomed with Nano, Latu, and Clay Hinsdale, two of my good friends, and we had like, I'm sure I have like TikTok drafts with them from it and stuff like that. It was a great experience, and I think seeing that level of football when they played modern day too was also kind of like a moment where I realized like there's definitely levels to it.
Yeah.
And also like that's the type of competition that we want to be playing as Serra as a team to really push ourselves to get better too.
That's awesome. And now you finally had that freshman experience, right? You saw what the varsity speed and practice style was like. What do you felt led to your improvement as a player? Now coming into your sophomore year, you're on varsity, you're ready to play and take a starting job. What kind of led to your success in that, taking the starting spot?
I think one of the biggest difficulties for me was obviously transitioning from running back to safety.
Yeah.
But luckily, both of my older brothers play safety.
Yeah.
So they were a great help. And also, Coach McGee, our safeties coach, like I remember at the beginning of the summer, he sent me the whole defensive playbook, and I got to look through it with my brothers. And also just being around experienced DBs like Jay Bay and especially Alex Atkins. I'd known him through Pop Warner, but during the season, like if I'd mess up or get beat or something, he would always be the first one to come up to me like, hey, it's good. Like, and that support really, I think, made a difference for me and my confidence too, especially at DB. You need confidence. And so I think really just my teammates helped me a lot to kind of adapt to that.
That's a perfect transition because I wanted to talk about your teammate chemistry and how you guys build that. It's second nature. When you guys are on the field, especially on the defense side, you guys have to be on the same level, same wavelength. How do you guys build that chemistry? And also, it's a friendship that obviously carries off the field as well.
I think really it comes from the friendships kind of start off the field. Like we were friends with each other not because of football, but because we liked each other and were friends with each other. And so when it translated onto the field, it became just really fun. Like you're just out there with your best friends playing the sport you love.
Yeah.
So it made it kind of easy to really just be on the same wavelength. And definitely just communication. I feel like everyone in the defense communicated well and knew each other well enough to kind of be able to just understand each other on a different level.
That's awesome. Did you have any favorite team bonding activities that you guys do? Any traditions that you think Serra has, or that you think you and your teammates have? I
think for sure the chapel we do is kind of bonding on a much deeper level that stays with you for the rest of your life. Like they always say, like your teammates will be the groomsmen at your wedding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see that happening for sure. And so that's a great way to really connect on a deeper emotional level.
Yeah.
But I would also say just like regular practice and conditioning together and that stuff. Like we're always like we stay focused, but we're always kind of messing around and having fun with each other. And that day by day kind of builds the bond.
That's awesome. Now I want to go back to that transition to the safety position. You're switching from offense to defense. Do you feel like some of your knowledge from the offensive side helped out with your defensive success?
I mean, I didn't really have any offensive knowledge. I was in Pop Warner, I was a quarterback, but I probably threw like 4 passing touchdowns in 7 years, and I ran the ball like 30 times a game. And then
you were more the Lamar Jack running type.
It was basically like Wildcat.
Yeah.
I never had a great arm. I remember the freshman scrimmage before our season started. I dropped back, took a snap, and I just scrambled and scored a touchdown. And then Coach Langridge, our OC, was like, "Yeah, you're not playing quarterback anymore." But I think not having prior knowledge might have helped with transitioning to DB because I had no other knowledge that I had to kind of like overcome.
Yeah, kind of overwrite per se.
Yeah.
So at safety, what do you feel like is the most successful part to being a great DB in that backfield? What do you think are some elements that make a successful safety? Especially
with safety, I think a lot of it is film study and having that football IQ. Like someone on our team who had just ridiculous IQ was Marley Alapati.
Yeah.
And he definitely taught me a lot with kind of how to look at formations and stuff like that. Because that kind of instinct makes a huge difference in games. And in general athleticism and stuff like that, but I would say that kind of like X factor makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. So what do you think, what could you say is like your off-season like training regimen per se? When you're kind of in the off-season going into your next season, like say going into your junior year, how was the training like every single day? Who were you training with? How'd that training schedule work out?
So we always had like obviously the Serra summer workouts in football. And then usually I would go to Activated Sports Performance, which is just really great for general athletic development. Like Lopetti, his son, Kai, is next to me now in the secondary, which is fun. I've known him for a long time, so I'm excited to play with him. Then also, like, just being able to have my brothers at home during the summer, working out with them. Like, we probably go to the field like maybe 3 to 5 times a week and just kind of do our footwork and each help each other improve and things like that. And also, Kenyon Training, KT Prep, the 7-on team I play for, has a really good summer program. Like, a lot of 7-on teams are really just for the spring, the terms and stuff, but they have a real like training regiment that I went through, and it's tough for sure, but it gets you better. So I felt like it was a good balance of working every day, but not overloading and leading to injury and stuff like that.
And then how do you balance, your education as well? You have a 4.7 GPA. You have to get into Harvard with a great GPA. You can't not just anyone gets into Harvard. So how'd you balance everything together? And what do you feel like helped you stand out to Harvard to get accepted to the school?
I would say, like, I like football more than school, but I would never prioritize football over school. So kind of in my mind, I knew that no matter what, I had to get that schoolwork done so it wouldn't cut into that football. And also in general, like, I'm in a lot of difficult classes, and I'm not the smartest kid in any of those classes by far. But I think, like, the ability to be like a humble learner, like ask a ton of questions, take a lot of notes, and recognize that, like, I'm not a genius, has helped a lot. And just coming to teachers when you need help and have questions makes a big difference for me. I feel like just that hard work really adds up.
And then having your brother go to Harvard as well, was that a big inspiration for you to go to that school as well? And then did he almost set like the blueprint for you on like how to get into Harvard?
I would say, I mean, we kind of had different paths going to different high schools and stuff, but when he did commit, it was definitely like, wow, like, this is really real. Like, obviously my brother's going here, and now, like, I could go here too. So that was definitely like a big moment for me. But in general, I mean, John always set a great example because he was on top of his schoolwork and always working out. And that was a kid who, he like was always the smallest of the 3 brothers. And then he hit his growth spurt. Now he's the tallest of out of us. So, but he was always a hard worker, and he kept that since when he was little.
That's awesome. And now going back to Serra and your coaching experience, how's it been like, learning from all those coaches and their mentorship to you, to get you to where you are today? Obviously,
like, I'm biased, but I think we have the best coaching staff in the world. I mean, every coach is just obviously incredible at what they do, but in general, like, a great person and kind of the brotherhood that we talk about in the team, you see that in the coaching staff as well, which is really great. They're just really smart people, but they're also like really funny, and it's just fun to be around. But I would say, like, the kind of environment it creates for the team is one where you want to get better, you want to improve. And especially with Coach McGee, like, he's been there with me since the end of my freshman year, helping me transition, and he's been great for me, for sure.
That's awesome. Now, you've had the privilege of playing with a lot of great players throughout your time at Serra, especially last year. 16 total D1 prospects on your team. I'm wondering if you can name the 10 that graduated last year. Now, I'm going to have the list here as well, so I can be able to reference and check, but there were 10 last year that graduated. Do you think you can name all the prospects you played with?
So we had Jay Green, Jay Bay, Bari, D-Boy, John Holthouse, Keon, Marley, Maui. Who else? I'm missing 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm getting caught up. Hold on, let me think.
Try to go offense and defense.
Offense and defense. Oh, yeah.
So because there's 8 offense, 8 defense.
Oh, Padrati, obviously.
Yep.
Ivy League.
There you go.
Brother. And then I'm missing one more.
I think you named all the defense.
I named all the defense?
Well, because here you go. You had Joseph Bay, right? Jabari Mann, Danny.
Yeah. Marley.
Loud. Yeah.
Keon.
Yep.
Jay Green.
So yeah, you're missing just the offense.
Just the offense.
Yes.
And I had Maui, John, and Cole.
There you go.
Yeah,
yes, Cole Harrison. So what was it like? I mean, those guys: San Jose State, Arizona, San Diego State, Montana State, Army, Oklahoma State, Tennessee. These are top level colleges, right? That they're going to. Even one, like you mentioned, going to Ivy League as well, and Brown University. What was it like playing with those guys every day on the field and also competing against some of those guys in practice all the time?
Definitely. I mean, I would say for the defensive players, being around those players wanted me to get better because obviously they were really talented, and I want to be able to reflect that talent and be like a kind of successful part of the team, not be the weak link or anything like that. And they also were really good at sharing their knowledge with me too. Like obviously Jay Bay had played safety position for a long time, and he was a great help for me just transitioning and in general. And offensively, going against guarding Cole and Jay Green and those guys it was really hard, but it got me a lot better for sure, I think. And it's kind of rare to be able to play that high-level competition just during the summer when we're scrimmaging and things like that.
Yeah.
And Maui too. Maui can make some great throws, which is challenging, especially for a safety.
Yeah.
And I mean, shout out to Maui. I use him at NCAA 25 too. I just handed off to Ollie Gordon, but I always put him in. So
there you go. You can let him get his playing time right there. That's awesome. So now, also talking about, that was your junior year. What a year it was too. I mean, obviously you kind of fought through some adversity. You had injury early in the season. What was persevering through those injuries like first early on in the year?
It was difficult, I feel like, especially because the junior Folsom game, I had a good start to it and I was feeling really good. And then I just, non-contact injury, sprained my ankle. And at first it was really tough, and I was really sad because I wasn't sure how long I was going to be out for. But I think just in general, like talking to my family and friends and kind of praying through it and things like that really helped me get through it and keep a positive attitude. And I'd already, like my freshman year, I had torn my labrum, so I had to get surgery. It was after the season, but still, I was familiar with the experience, so it wasn't too discouraging. I was really just putting all my effort into getting back onto the field as fast as possible.
Yeah, and then you go into the whole season. I mean, you didn't have a chance to play through all the full games, even when you were healthy, just because you guys were dominating, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys had to basically got like the time rule on a lot of people where, you just had to force a running clock. So what was that also like, just kind of like dominating throughout almost the entire season?
It was definitely like kind of a unique experience for sure. Like the only time I really felt that was when I was 8 years old in Pop Warner. And actually Jay Bay was on my Pop Warner team that year. But like we would like get the ball and punt it right away because we'd be up by so much.
Yeah.
And it obviously was a little different in high school, but just it was great to be able to see a lot of, we call it like bottom of the fire, guys who aren't necessarily starters, get, especially the seniors, get to play because they work hard every day and make plays, get picks, stuff like that. So I think it was great for the team overall.
Yeah. And then going into, you've been to 3 state championships, right? And you guys just haven't been able to get over the hump those last 3 times. Now going into the senior year, what do you think is different about this team that's going to help you guys win state this year?
I would say our leadership is a lot more vocal. It's difficult. Like last year, I wouldn't say we necessarily had one central leader just because our team was so talented that you didn't necessarily need one. But this year, we definitely have like we have 4 captains this year from 12th last year.
Yeah.
And so I hope that kind of more centralized leadership will help establish more of a structure for the team and keep us more disciplined and locked in.
Yeah, and then now you also being a veteran on this team, you're taking a leadership role as well, kind of a mentorship role to the younger. What's that transition been like too?
It was definitely kind of difficult at first just because I wasn't always like a super vocal leader, but I knew I would have to do it eventually. And I think the biggest thing was knowing that I wasn't in it just by myself and relying on my friends, the other seniors, stuff like that. But it's been challenging, but I think it's been good for me too because like as a leader, I want to lead with my voice, but also by example. So it's pushed me to kind of cut out any things that might not be the best for the team or the most ideal, and really help me aim to set a better example, especially for our younger kids.
Yeah, and kind of leading through, the hard work that you keep showing. Where do you think that hard work mentality came from too? Like always putting in 100% effort at practice.
For sure, my dad. I mean, my dad definitely instilled that in me and all my brothers at a very young age. My mom as well too, but that's just, his mindset is very much working hard and humility and things like that. And I think it's been really good because me and my brothers have all kind of tried to emulate those qualities.
Yeah. And then that familial support, you talked about how they helped you when you were going through your injury and showing you support and all that stuff. What's that been like your whole life, with your mom and your dad and their support throughout your whole entire career?
It's been great. I mean, my dad and mom have always been super supportive of football, which isn't always the case, so I know I'm definitely blessed. and also my extended family just coming to games and supporting me. It means a lot because it just like, it feels like it's a much bigger support system. And I just feel a lot more confident knowing I have my family cheering for me.
That's awesome. Now, talking about you as a player in the safety position, do you feel like there's a player in the league that you look toward, or like whose game you try to kind of mimic? Personally?
I would say there's two players who I want to be like. I would say the first one is Jabril Peppers, because he's just super explosive, just a crazy playmaker since college, and that's been one of my favorite players for a long time. And also I would say Taylor Rapp too.
Okay.
He's obviously a really talented player, but everyone says I look like him too. So that,
Now that you say it, I do see a little bit of it with Taylor Rapp, but that's a great safety to compare it to. So now, we're talking on the topic of NFL players, right? The 2028 Olympics are going to have flag football in. So I want to paint a scenario for you. You're going to be, imagine you're a safety in the Olympics for the flag football team. Who do you want alongside you on that defense to kind of like make your dream flag football defense?
Ooh. I would say corners, I go Jalen Ramsey.
Okay.
And I go Sauce probably.
Okay, can't go wrong there.
And then, so I'm taking up one of the safety spots?
Yes.
Ooh.
So who do you want alongside you on the other side?
That is tough. And this is like only current players, right?
Yeah.
I would say maybe someone like Javon Holland. Like he played KT Prep too, but he's also just a really good safety. And then
who do you want as your leaders, in the linebacker spots?
Oh, backers? Ooh.
Who's going to lead the charge?
That's tough. I don't even know. I couldn't even pick from backers. I feel like I guess I go like Micah Parsons and then maybe, backers. No, I'm not even sure. I couldn't even tell you.
Well, as a Niner fan, I'll just drop in Fred Warner's.
Oh yeah, Fred Warner's the obvious one.
I'll put that one there. But and also I want to talk to you just again about going to Harvard. You're going to a school that's prestigious for education, but it also has players who have made it to the league from Harvard. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk, who's on the 49ers. You have several pro players. So what's it like going to a school, with that repertoire, who've gone to the league, but also great in education as well, and that inspiration? What's that like?
I think, one of the biggest, I don't want to say surprises, but it's definitely something that I feel like a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't really realize it until I was exposed to it, is that the Ivy League is really competitive. I think the education attracts a lot of talented players for sure. And so it is a very real possibility. And now what you see a lot of is players do like a post-grad year. So a lot of Harvard players will do another year at like a Power 5 program, Power 4 program. But it's definitely like, it shows that you can do both. And obviously like the education is super important, but ideally I would play football for as long as I can. And it's kind of comforting knowing I could do both.
Exactly, that's awesome. And then now going into your senior year, we already talked about, what this team possesses to win state, but I want to talk more about your personal goals for this year, your last senior year coming up. What are some personal goals that we should look forward to this upcoming year?
I would say, they're kind of boring ones. It's not necessarily like picks or anything, but I would say like you get a grade after a game based on your mistakes and stuff like that. They grade you plays, and I would want to have like an average around like 95%, which is up there, but I feel like it's definitely achievable. And this is my senior season, so this is the year to go for it. And also, it's kind of, this is more of like an intangible one, but being able to lead our entire secondary from the safety position. And I think a big part of that was looking back at our playbook and not just looking at free safety or rover, but looking at every position and knowing where everyone needs to be. So just in case, if one of these younger guys needs some help, I'll be able to help them.
That's awesome. Now aiming for high grades off the field and on the field, it appears. That's awesome. So one last question for you, Teddy, is if there's a student, say a freshman or a middle schooler, right, and they're in the position that you were in back then, and you wanted to give them advice on how they could get into Harvard, what advice would you tell them?
I would say, obviously, I think the academics speak for themselves. Like, you need to keep your grades up and stay on top of your work. And also take challenging courses for sure, APs and stuff like that. But also just try to do things that kind of diversify your portfolio and make you stand out. Just extracurriculars and things like that. And find things that you're passionate about too, because it'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like schools like Harvard, Stanford, Ivy League schools, they're not just looking for the smartest kid on paper, but they're looking for kind of the best kids they can find, I would feel like.
Yeah. That's awesome, Teddy. It's been a great time interviewing you and getting to know more about this team and yourself. And, it's a big season coming up for you guys. We can't wait to see what you do here. Do you want to shout out anyone here in the camera before you go?
Shout out all my teammates. Shout out Activated Sports Performance. Shout out Alf. Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome, man. This is Alejandro Flores with Teddy Chung. Teddy, thank you so much again for doing this interview, and we can't wait to see what you do this year, man.
Yep. Appreciate it. Thank you.